You're going to say, look, you learn more from your failures than from your successes.
Specifically,
in some ways, this has some resonance.
I grew up between Egypt and the Arabian Gulf area, where my parents afforded some travel, an international school, and experiences that shaped my personality and ability to adapt to different life settings quickly and graciously. As a kid, I was always interested in humans and cultures, and my mom used to quote verses from the Quran and sayings of the Prophet whenever I had questions and wondered why we were not all the same. Quotes like, "O you men, surely we have created you of a male and a female, and made you of tribes and families, so you may know each other." So from my early years, I knew that we were intentionally molded differently, so we may take the time to get to know each other, and as a result, have a more interesting and exciting life. So the purpose of life for me growing up was to get to know each other. She would also add that the Prophet said, "O people, there is no virtue of an Arab over a foreigner, nor a foreigner over an Arab, and neither white over black, nor black over white, except through the purity of the heart." Again, a perfect example of how the promotion of equality and fairness between people of different races and ethnicities was something I grew up learning about. When I struggled with the concept of faith and seeing people of different religions than us, she would quickly say, "Unto you your religion, and unto me my religion." A verse from the Quran that clearly forbids the interference in other people's religious affairs and promotes interfaith dialogue and understanding. So as you can see, I grew up respecting, appreciating, and enjoying people from all different backgrounds, and I thought that others did too. Fast forward a few years, and life has taken me and my own little family to the United States, where we have been studying, working, living across different states for more than a decade. And I have to say that my story is totally the opposite of what many might think. While some people were out there trying to erase misconceptions, I never even knew they existed. While I felt empowered, others thought that I was oppressed. In fact, people are often surprised when they see me traveling alone or attending a late-night function without my husband, an international scientist himself, who, by the way, just decided to start a hashtag titled "Oppressed Muslim Man" to remind me with how many times he has to take care of the kids when I'm working later out of town like today. Don't worry, I pay back my dues when I go back home. Surprisingly to many, I'm an approachable Muslim woman who speaks English so well. I was shocked when I heard these comments, but the more I learned about the misconceptions that exist, the more I understood why I often get them. As it happened, I got a full-time job at an academic institution where I've been the only Muslim woman out there, and I'm very comfortable with it. Some of my friends often tell me, "That must be a challenge, how can you handle that?" In fact, it has never been a challenge, nor would I allow it to be. My skills and background have always been appreciated and respected. The only funny question that I keep getting once in a while is, "Does your husband see your hair?" I just laugh and say, "Well, we have 3 kids, so I guess here's your answer. My hair will be the least of his worries, but he does see my hair." My diverse background comes in handy when we welcome our Arabic-speaking and Muslim international students to campus each semester, and when we decided to teach the students about Islam through an academic program, a program that was suggested by the students themselves who wanted to learn more about the religion in the midst of the world events. The whole idea was to speak to them about Islam throughout history and try to erase some of the misconceptions that they have. They even got to watch a live demo on how to wrap a headscarf. It was also helpful to have me around when we put together an exhibition and a program commemorating the Egyptian Revolution. It was just a perfect match. Some people always wonder, is this in the US? I assure them yes, and on a university campus too. When I first started this job a few years ago, the first project that was assigned to me was an exhibition about the Jewish heritage. It was a cultural program that I personally enjoyed putting together and learning from it. That day, after the event, one of the attendees approached me and said, This is quite intriguing. A Muslim woman working for a university established by the Disciples of Christ, coordinating a Jewish event. This is when my mom's quote struck me, and I finally understood what they really meant. It all fell into place. The concept of diversity and its beauty has come to life in front of my eyes, as if I'm enrolled in a Diversity 101 crash course. This is when I realized that we all have to step out of our comfort zones, and that the purpose of life is not complete until we get to know each other, not to try to change one another. This is really the key. From that day on, I made a pledge to myself that I will make every effort to connect more with people, really get to know them, and break the barriers and the misconceptions that exist. In fact, this pledge was put to test right away when just a few weeks later I got invited to speak at a Jewish temple after someone came across some of my writing at a local newspaper. The temple rabbi wanted me to talk about my story, share my experiences, and meet the temple congregation. Some of them have never met a Muslim before. Some were skeptical, but I never was. I was extremely excited, accepted the offer, after we agreed that nothing political would be discussed. While it was totally a new experience for me, I have to say that the outcome was great. And we not only got to know more about each other, but we had a great time. And as my neuroscientist friend, Marwa Azab, says, and I quote, "When we surround ourselves with people who think like us, our assumptions become non-negotiable facts. But when we surround ourselves with people who think differently, not only challenges our assumptions, but help us discover unknown parts of ourselves." And that's exactly what happened to me. I started digging deep in my other self and search for the beauty of the human beings. Along this journey, I met people who instilled my faith in humanity and inspired me with how much kindness exists in this world, and that we just need to take the time to look for it and start thinking positively. From people who share my passions, like my wonderful Sikh friends who are committed to breaking barriers and starting a language of understanding, a dialogue, especially between Muslims and Sikhs, despite of the history of hatred and violence. I received this photo from my good friend, Director Michael Singh, just a few weeks ago, after my Sikh friend Vicky and I attended this event with a caption, and I quote, "If you are the future, our world will be a better place." Or my African American friend who has an open heart and mind towards everyone. Or my Nigerian friend who comes all the way from Africa to learn how to make her library a better place for her community back home. Or my friend Lynn, a nurse who lives in Los Angeles but takes her vacation time every year to go visit refugee camps in Iraq and Afghanistan just to give hope to kids through art and culture. Through my profession, I get to meet a wide, diverse group of people, ranging from journalists and writers to entrepreneurs and artists, who inspire me with their passions and efforts in making the world a better place. I also get to meet wonderful professionals who have the highest work ethics and know how to work hard, but also play harder. Some of them are so different than me, yet we are able to work so well together in the most collegial way, despite of our differences. It's not about the diversity of race and gender anymore. It's more about the diversity of thought that we strive to bring to the table. In fact, a recent research highlights that cultivating diversity of thought in the workplace helps boost creativity and problem-solving skills. And that's exactly what we have been seeing as a team. I also get to experience how a small world it is, like when my mom's British friend, who we haven't seen in over 30 years, comes and visit me and my family just a few weeks ago, or when common friends randomly meet and discover that they have me as a mutual friend. I also get surprised with people who share with me small acts of kindness, who we don't necessarily take the time to highlight, like when this wonderful lady gives my daughter her pillow on a plane just to make her comfortable. She never took it back and wanted us to keep it as a souvenir. Or when this wonderful couple come and babysit my kids when my husband and I ever go on a date night. Or when people that I don't even know take the time to write me letters, comments, or email whenever they come across any of my writing. The amount of positive comments and love that I receive is just overwhelming. I also discovered that life is a package, and we all have something in common. We just need to take the time to look for it. Like my friend Seth, an underwater photographer whose favorite meal is kushari, a traditional Egyptian meal. Or my friend Kinda, a talented artist who chooses to observe aspects of Islam differently than me, yet is equally devoted to building bridges and erasing misconceptions. Or Mustafa, a Special Olympics athlete who is really fighting hard the stereotypes through his hard work and perseverance. I applaud and support his efforts the same way I've been supported by my mentors who share my passion and inspire me through my career in life. And my friends who've always been there for me, and not once did I think of how different they are from me. And most importantly, my family who've always supported me despite of the distance and make me proud to say that I have a home wherever I go. How can I just ignore all of this? How can I keep thinking of the negative and ignore the positive? I simply can't, because there's so much beauty in this world that we need to take the time to highlight. I actually expressed this firsthand just this last week when I attended the Parliament of the World Religion, along with 10,000 other interfaith leaders who are working so hard to make the world a more peaceful place. Or when thousands of people stood up by Ahmed, a 14-year-old Texas kid who invented a clock, yet his teacher thought it was a bomb just because of his name and race. Or the people here in Munich who welcomed thousands of Syrian refugees despite how skeptical the world was when Marwa Sherbini was killed back in 2009 in Dresden, Germany, just because of her headscarf. I hope that all these efforts will eventually work, whether being public speakers at events, leaders in your work, writers, or simply taking the step out of your comfort zone to get to know people that are different than you. Your life will be more exciting and interesting when you do that. You will not just feel good about yourself, but you'll almost certainly get to know something that you never knew before. Just be yourself and lead by example. People are simply beautiful. We just need to take the time to look for it and start thinking positively. The idea is not to impose your thoughts on others, but start a language of understanding and dialogue between one another. And most importantly, embed ourselves in the societies and cultures we're living in and without losing our identities. Don't feel intimidated to talk to someone who is different than you. Believe me, your life will be more interesting and exciting when you do that. You will not just feel good about yourself, but you'll almost certainly get to know something new. In fact, a recent research in the Scientific American published in September of 2014 highlights that diversity makes us smarter and that being around people that are different than us makes us more creative, more diligent, and harder working. And even newer research highlights that diversity makes us more empathetic, and being around people from different races increase our empathy towards the world. So diversity makes us smarter, diversity makes us more empathetic. My own kids have embraced the concept of diversity to the extent that it takes us over an hour sometimes to decide where we should go out for dinner as a family. They struggle to argue between Korean barbecue, Vietnamese pho, Chinese, Indian, Greek, Korean, pizza, falafel, or their favorite sushi. Not because they are privileged, but because they've been exposed to all these cultures and have met people from all these races. They also like to meet people that are different than them and do things that are always challenging and way out of anyone's comfort zone, like standing on one's hand for almost 6 minutes as part of a gymnastics challenge, or winning a national championship at 8 years old. They also face misconceptions that they should not be facing at such a young age, like when they're asked if they will be celebrating 9/11 rather than condemning it. I hope that whatever we are all doing will eventually work. As I continue this journey of life, I have to say that nice people are nice people, no matter where they come from, what their religion or spiritual practice is, nor their race or ethnicity. What matters are your values, ethics, and empathy towards the world and the people around you. We are all just people who happen to orient ourselves differently among many aspects of life. This orientation is affected by the place you were born, the families you are coming from, or the experiences that you've been through. Nobody really gets to choose all of these, and as my 5-year-old puts it so well, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. With what's happening around us in the world, many will see me too optimistic, but I have faith in the power of humans, and I feel that if every one of us take the time to change the current narrative, we can make the world a better place, one person at a time. So please join me and others across the globe in an effort to reunite our faith in humanity so we all may feel welcomed and empowered. Thank you very much.